Baldur's Gate 3. Truly one of the most insane gaming experiences I have had in forever. I went into the game with no D&D knowledge and very minimal CRPG experience. I heard great things about this game, obviously being on the internet, but had never seen any gameplay, so I had no clue what to expect from this game, but nothing could have prepared me just how addicted I would become. Right away, when I first hopped in the game, I was immediately overwhelmed by the amount of things on the screen that I could click. Not only was there a ton of tiles to perform actions and bonus actions that I had no clue what they even did, but it also felt like everything in the game was interactable. Just in the Nautiloid alone in the starting area, I knew I was in for a ride. On my first playthrough, I spent an embarrassingly long amount of time in the Nautiloid figuring things out, like figuring out movement, how to interact with NPCs such as Lae'zel when you first meet her, and then freeing Shadowheart as well. The thing I really like is that the game teaches you right away to try anything that you might think you'd be rewarded with. Like for example, freeing us in the beginning Nautiloid area is kind of interesting. You know, you go up to a guy and his brain is like talking and whatnot. You keep interacting with him, and if you choose the right dialogue options and pass a couple skill checks, you get a summon right off the bat, which is pretty fun. This teaches you like, hey dude, just try whatever you want to try and who knows, maybe something cool will happen. When rescuing Shadowheart in that first area, I realized that if you wanted to, you could just leave her in her pod and never help her out. This whole idea of being able to make my own decisions that actually impact the game world and story was really intriguing to me. Most games will give you the illusion of choice, but in reality, things play out more or less the same no matter what. I just really think the way that Baldur's Gate does choice and consequence is really cool, especially if you're not used to this sort of gameplay. So for me, as somebody who's new to CRPGs and new to the world of D&D and all that kind of stuff, I just thought it was really cool in my first playthrough. Okay, so crash landing into Act 1 was an amazing moment. It gave me the same type of vibes as escaping Helgen in Skyrim or walking out of the cave in Breath of the Wild, where the whole world just opens up to you and you can kind of just do whatever you want. But I will not lie, I was a little confused on where to go next because it doesn't really give you a waypoint or any like direction. You just kind of figure things out as you go. But over the next couple hours of playing, I realized that having a direction doesn't really matter. You just kind of go out there and do whatever you want and something interesting will happen. Like literally everywhere you go in Act 1, something is going down. My first playthrough, I didn't even notice Asterion was there, so I fully missed him. Same with Karlach, which I think is kind of interesting because like normally I feel like a game would kind of funnel you into these main characters, but in this game it's up to you to find them, and if you don't find them, you just don't get to experience their story. But the first playthrough, if you don't find them, you don't really know what you're missing out on, so it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So first of all, you got Druid Grove or Emerald Grove or whatever you call it. So there you get to decide how to resolve an issue between the druids and the tieflings. Do you want to help out the Flaming Fist, rescue people from a burning building? Do you want to fight an old hag in a swamp to save a young lady? Do you want to kill a group of goblins who worship an evil god? Or do you want to help the goblins kill the tieflings and the druids? The fact that you could team up with the goblins really was eye-opening to me. It was kind of shocking that you can just decide to be an absolute evil menace and help the bad guys at every turn if you wanted to. Like, the possibilities in this game feel endless. The devs have also prepared scenarios for pretty much anything you can think of. For example, if you kill Minthara in the goblin camp as I did, you may just think she was another goblin boss that you need to kill in the story. But if you side with the goblins and attack Druid Grove, she becomes a companion character that you can control and even romance. But wait, there's a third option. You can set your attacks to non-lethal when fighting her and knock her unconscious. You leave her KO'd body there and proceed with the story like normal. Once you get to Act 2, she'll show up in Moonrise Towers, and then you can add her as a companion. So there's just many examples like this, and I think these details are what makes BG3 so great. Let me know in the comments what your favorite moments like this are, because there's plenty of them throughout the game. In order to get into Act 2, you have two options. You can go through the mountain pass above ground and encounter the Githyanki Kresh, or you can go underground through the Underdark and experience the Grim Forge, or you can do both. In my first playthrough, I actually did do both to experience it all, but you could just do one or the other and totally skip parts of the game. Both of these paths feel equally fun and interesting to me depending on if you're more drawn by Lae'zel's story or by Shadowheart's story. I would say Lae'zel's story is definitely more fleshed out in the Githyanki Crush just because she is a Githyanki, so these are her people. Like Shadowheart has a couple things here and there that she sees down in the Underdark or in the Grimforge that speak to her, but besides that, there's not really that much interaction with her until Act 3. So once you do make your choice and you enter Act 2, the whole vibe of the game changes. Everything is dark and depressing, and the idea of the absolute, which you hear so much about in Act 1, is explored further. Depending on the choices that you make in Act 1, you may also see some familiar faces in Act 2, which was cool to me. You also meet up with a character from Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 named Jaheira, and then later Minsk in Act 3. So I bet this was pretty hype for longtime fans of the series. Since I didn't play 1 and 2, I didn't really care, although I do like both characters, they're both really cool. And the voice acting in this game is insanely good. I won't lie though, my first playthrough, I could not wait to get out of the Shadow Cursed lands in Act 2. I felt this way because it felt like at any turn I could just die and I didn't want to venture too far off the beaten path because of how the Shadow Curse was set up and explained, and it kind of shows you through combat and everything. But this was definitely intentional from Larian, so I respect that. Like the Shadow Curse lands are supposed to be scary and dangerous and everything, so it totally makes sense within the world. It's just I, being my first playthrough, was not good at the game, and my builds were also pretty bad. I didn't look up any guides my first playthrough, so everything was unoptimized. I was bad at the game. I didn't know what was going on, so yeah. That's why that part freaked me out, because the game is not very hard once you get the hang of it. And I mean, it's not very hard on the base difficulty, which I was playing on for my first playthrough. Tactician and Honor mode are hard, especially Honor mode. I've attempted Honor mode 3 times, and I'm on my 3rd playthrough. But so far, the furthest I've made it is to Nier in the Grimforge, so if that's anything to go by and you know the game, then yeah, I'm not the best Baldur's Gate player. I have like 300 hours in the game, but yeah, I'm kind of a scrub. No. Damn. On subsequent playthroughs, it's been really fun to see all the Shadow Cursed lands has to offer though. It's actually really cool. There's a freaking beer guy at a bar who you can kill by out drinking him.
Aren't you a sight for sore eyes?
There's a doctor in the House of Healing who you can convince to basically kill himself. And then there's a toll collector in the toll house who uses gold against you. It's kind of funny, like if you have a bunch of gold in your inventory, she deals insanely high damage against you, so you can just send all your gold to camp and then you're kind of good to go. And all 3 of these bosses are optional, so you don't even have to do them if you don't want to, but they're rewarding in their own right, so I would suggest doing them, especially if it's your first playthrough, like might as well. And then there's also side content in the House of Healing where you can meet up with Arabella, who you initially meet in Act 1. She has a little storyline there, so on my first playthrough, I was like, oh wow, these characters from Act 1 are kind of interwoven into Act 2 now, and things kind of progress from there. Like, you meet her and her parents at the beginning of the game, and now she's in the Shadow Cursed lands, lost, and can't find her parents. So you need to go find her parents. Spoiler alert, it does not end well for her parents. And there's a whole part of the game I've kind of skipped over here, where you can use a spell called Speak with the Dead to talk to dead people.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
True soul of the absolute.
Which is crazy, because if there's any dead corpse, you can cast it on them, and they can give you some information. And then there's also a Speak with Animals potion, or skills, like some classes get Speak with Animals, and you can just talk to animals. Like if there's a cat, you can talk to it and see what's going on. There's also a point in the story where your character's like, whoa, this ox is kind of looking at me funny, so you can talk to him and see what's his deal as well. These things just add a lot of dynamic options to the game. Like, let's say you're looking for a murderer. You can speak with the dead to dead people and see who killed them, where they were, what they were wearing, what they looked like, and it can kind of lead you on the right way. Getting back to the Shadow Cursed lands, there's this place called the Last Light Inn. That's like the one cozy place in all of the Shadowlands. And man, the music in there hits like freaking crack when you get in there, bro.
2 steps at a
Too
time.
dark to tell.
Sure, why not? I bet they're close.
Stock up while you can. I only hope I've brought enough to see us through. Take care now.
Where am I needed?
There's also tons of content stemming from the Last Light Inn alone. There's 2 vendors in there who are really good, like they have good loot, and one of them actually progresses one of your companion's storylines. You'll once again see returning characters from Act 1, and you'll have some huge decisions to make that will make a pretty big impact on Act 3, to say the least, and your story's ending as a whole. And then finally, once you storm Moonrise Towers and find out what the Absolute even is, it all kicks off. You kill a literal god incarnate, travel to a different dimension, speak with a mind flayer, only to find out that he is the Baldurian who founded Baldur's Gate City. And then finally, you reach the gates of Baldur's Gate City. First, you explore the outer portion of the city. You get to walk around a circus that has so many wacky things going on in it. The characters there are pretty funny. I would recommend doing that. There's a genie guy. He spins a wheel, and if you win the bonus prize or whatever, you get the big reward. But the thing is, he has a ring that makes him always win. So if you pickpocket the ring from him before spinning the wheel, you can finesse him out of his prize, and he gets pretty pissed at you, but you get some pretty freaking sweet loot at the end of it all. And then once you get to the main city itself, everything really opens up for you there. All of your companions' final quest lines are there for you to complete if you want. You get access to shops with the best equipment. You get access to some pretty brutal boss fights that also have incredible loot. And then you meet the final Dead 3 members. So Act 3 has a pretty mixed reception. Some people love it. Some people say it simply has too much going on all at once. There is no real direction here, and I mean way less direction than even in Act 1. So you're just free to do things in any order you want, really. To some, this is amazing, and to others, it's just too much to stay focused on. I personally fall somewhere in between. At times, it for sure feels like it drags on, especially if you want to complete all of your companions' quests and take on the bosses. If having full agency over doing whatever you want to do sounds cool, then you'll probably love Act 3. If you get overwhelmed easily by too much all at once, then you might not like it as much. I will say the mission where you need to save a bunch of people from an underwater prison can be a bit tedious. My first playthrough, I spent like 3 hours here just reloading saves over and over, trying to save everyone I could in there. I know there's probably some optimal way to do it, but I just gave up, saved Ravengard and whoever else I could, and then bounced at the end of the day. In most of my playthroughs after that, I just kind of save Ravengard and call it good. So yeah, if that tells you anything about that sequence, then I don't know, maybe you can relate, maybe you know the optimal strat. Let me know. Things that I'm forever grateful for Act 3 is the absolute bangers it provides you in the House of Hope and during the Raphael fight. I don't know why I think it's so funny, but when Raphael sings his own song, it just makes so much sense. Like, it fits his character so well. Also in Act 3, you can buy like this apartment or cabin type area that becomes your camp. So rather than being like outside at an actual campsite, you're in this really nice area, and the music in there also slaps.
I have such a headache.
So when it comes to the ending of the game, there are 4 main endings, which I won't spoil in this video, but each ending can branch in many other directions depending on the choices. like who lived, who was romanced, and other specific side quest outcomes. Overall, the endings that I've seen have all been really satisfying and leave you wanting more out of the game. Like when the game ends, you kind of just wish it didn't end, which is definitely a good thing. Like this game is so good, man. I cannot stress that enough. This game is amazing. Online, you may read that there are 17,000 endings or something crazy like that, but this is just based on tiny little things like dialogue options that make no real difference. The 4 main endings do, however, have pretty vastly different outcomes, and I feel like the 4 endings is sufficient enough, especially since the journey to get there is so enjoyable. Overall, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the most immersive games I have ever played. It is one of those games where you'll find yourself checking the time and be in disbelief that it is somehow already 1 a.m. And I didn't even mention that this game is co-op. The way that that works is you can invite a friend and they will automatically be your same level. So you don't even have to consistently wait for each other for your schedules to align so you can stay on the same level as each other. However, the host gets the save file and the person joining can only be the character that they are in their friend's game when their friend hosts their game. There is also wicked mod support for this game. Like people have made full new classes, new companions, tons of UI improvements, tons of enemy improvements, new cosmetics, weapons, clothing dye, and even a new leveling system. In the vanilla game, you level 1 through 12, and each level you get something new, and that's just kind of how it works. The leveling mod, you level 1 through 20, and you get new things obviously every level as well. I haven't played it myself, but I've heard it's amazing, and I'm definitely going to try it soon. Baldur's Gate 3 has made its way to one of my top 5 games of all time. And that is quite incredible considering I've never played a CRPG before this and didn't know a thing about D&D before this. So basically this game was not made with me as a consumer in mind at all, yet it took over my life, to be quite honest. If you've never played the game before, obviously I would suggest this game. Maybe it will go on a Steam sale soon, you never know, but even at full price, I feel like this game's worth it. I did buy it on a sale, so, you know, all about that deal, so do what you will. But what I'm trying to say is it is worth the full price, and you should play it. You can just feel the passion from the devs in every aspect of this game. And you can feel the passion from all the voice actors. The voice acting in this game is insanely good. There is so much dialogue, and all of it is engaging, and every line is delivered so well, it's honestly kind of incredible.
There's been some debate whether you'd even show up and face the consequences of your actions. I assumed you tried to flee, like a craven.
Do I know you? I like to be on a first-name basis before I give someone a thrashing, ideally.
What in the sweet hells were you thinking, activating that lance? I was right there! Gods! Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Well, apparently there's a limit. Somewhere between a nice summer's day and the full concentrated power of the sun! Next time, just warn me before you do something stupid. At least then I can get out of the blast radius.
I may be a hater and a gatekeeper, but I'm also God's favorite princess and the most interesting girl in the world.
All in all, Baldur's Gate 3 is not without flaws, but in my opinion, it is a 10 out of 10 generationally influential game. Thanks for watching.